Folks, it's the Felder Friday edition of College Sports Now. This is the second time I've opened the show because the first time I opened the show, I had forgotten to hit record. Michael Felder at In the Bleachers hanging out with us. Trip Hurd, the lock doctor, is also here. We got Zach Berry from Ole Miss on 3 stopping by in about 30 minutes. Pretty big game in Oxford on Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Zach about that. Can Ole Miss punch up? Finally, can they get somebody that they're not supposed to? We shall see. But we got a lot to get to. Friday roll call. How's everybody feeling, Felder? I heard you were talking off mic. You got dinner plans. You're ready to rock and roll. How we living, big man?
That was plans for Sunday dinner. Tonight we're doing chicken tenders. I'm actually going to debone some thighs, get those things, soak in some buttermilk.
Some tendies. You got some sauces?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna make some honey mustard. I already made a ranch, and we'll make some barbecue sauce. We're good. But Trip, how are you doing?
Doing good.
Okay, because I have something I want to talk about real quick before we start the show.
Is this about the picture I sent you yesterday?
No.
Okay.
This is about what you did to me last week, which completely screwed up my streak. Now.
Are we talking that's my dog?
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Did I say maybe I'm going to pick Texas Tech? Did I say that?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yes, I did.
7 days ago.
I did say that. Did I say maybe I should pick Vandy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Pavia might be banged up. I don't know. Did I say maybe I should pick Washington? Well, they're not that good on the road. They're only good at home.
Yeah, I think if you check the tape, you said all those.
That's 3. Instead, I was like, you know what? Let's go kind of a mirror match, Wisconsin, Iowa. I end up losing that game because Iowa decides they want to score 1 million points. So 3 games did go that I was going to pick that you talked me out of.
Listen, it's tough, dude. It's tough.
What's tough?
Don't listen to us, okay?
Okay, I just wanted to
live your life, blaze your own trail.
I'm the last guy in the world that wants to toot my own horn. Everybody knows that listens to the show, but I did say that it felt like Iowa State. This was a game they were just going to screw around and lose.
Yeah.
And it was an official pick on Twitter.
Listen, I got to be honest, man. First of all, Trip, you sound like you got into a couple cases of red wine last night. Are you okay? You feel
I told you
right?
I got into the wire, man, and then I found out you're on the wire.
I was not on the wire. I was below the line, as they say in the industry, okay? I was back in the office. I was running scripts, man.
And
yes, I was a production assistant for The Wire.
4.
Trip's never heard this story before because I don't go around talking about things that happened to me 23 years ago. But, yes, that did happen. I will say this. I was working at The Wire.
You're kind of bragging on yourself right now you don't ever brag about yourself.
I was working in Baltimore at the time. I remember being in the office.
No, say it the right way.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
I was working at The Wire during Hurricane Katrina, which was horrifying.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff was going down, and I had to show up to work every day, and people were having to deal with all that stuff, like cast and crew members that were literally from New Orleans. That was that was I remember that being a pretty traumatic experience. But what's up, Felder? You got the sniffies over there? What you got, man? I you best with some Kleenex. You good?
No, I just got a little drizzle.
All right, here's the deal. I'm glad you guys are living well. It's Friday night, or it's Friday morning as we tape the show. I am going to take in some ACC Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
Taking the family. Got my passes here.
Nice. Are you guys going down to the field?
We're going down to the field for a
with
game.
two kids.
Yeah, 2 kids.
Amazing.
They're gonna freak out. It's for them, man. Look.
That's awesome.
They think we're just going to the game. What they don't know is we're gonna be hanging out on the field, checking out a little Cal and Wake action.
Nice. That's very cool.
It's not elite football, but it's Friday night football. It's gonna be 80 degrees today in North Carolina.
I know, dude. It's supposed to be 80, 81 in Charlotte. So yeah. I'm excited. My wife's not home, so I can do this. What I say about Indiana, Michigan State last week?
You said that Indiana was going to do some horrible things to Michigan State.
And what did they do, Trip?
Yeah, that worked out.
It did take a little while, though. Indiana did face their first deficit of the season. So
10-0. Sure. And then what was it?
It's 40-something unanswered after that.
Yeah, 47-10. We're good.
Now, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
before we get into the Felder 5. We're both Dan Lanning fans. We're
Yes.
Oregon stands.
We
okay?
are.
What did you think of the video that Oregon Athletics put out this week of the gladiator mashup and the whole, are you not entertained? Thumbs down. Because the reason this is important, Tripp gave out Oregon minus 14.5 as one of his picks last week. Okay, Tripp went 3-0 in the 3-for-all.
Mhm.
He picked up a game on me because I went
3-0.
2-1. But Oregon, I'm watching that video and I'm like, you know what? It makes sense to me now because those guys punched it in with 30 seconds to go at the big house to give Tripp the cover.
Yeah. They went sicko mode.
We've lost audio from you, Felder.
You lost my audio?
There, you're back now.
There
You're
you go.
back.
I'm
Hey,
back.
you're back.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost you at sicko mode. Sorry.
They went sicko mode. Like this team, they were not there to play around with this team. In the words of our buddies, they didn't play with their food.
Right. Well, remember back in early September when we're like, hey, when is Oregon going to figure it out? When are they going to stop playing with their food? Why are they letting Idaho and Boise hang around? Well, they have very much figured it out. They've kicked it into another gear. And we don't have to do playoff talk today because we got games to discuss. But Oregon is a lock to make the 12-team field.
Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington.
Lock.
A possible rematch with Ohio State, or depending on what happens in a couple weeks, maybe we're talking about them playing Indiana.
Yeah, man, people just assume that Indiana's going to lose in Columbus, and I'm like, I don't know, man. That's going to be a great game. I can't wait for that. So, Felder 5, Zach Berry from Ole Miss on 3 coming in about 20 minutes. Let's get this show rolling, Felder.
I had to change my notebook over because I had to go back to 3 pages just to make sure I got to where we were with how you talked me out of 3 wins that I could. If I put all 3 of those guys down, if I would have went 3-1, could live with that. Can't live with 0-1.
Well,
because of Stephen Hartzell talking me out of.
Maybe you should have a little bit more conviction with your picks. Don't let me sway you. My picks for the end of the show, they're written down. There's nothing you guys are going to say that's going to sway me off these picks.
Okay, that's
I'm
fine.
ready to rock.
Okay.
So why don't you lock it in a little bit?
I will say this. I'm very interested to watch Ohio State. Just in general. This has nothing. This isn't part of the Felder 5, but one of the things
Ohio State versus Purdue, because that game's going to get out of hand.
Yeah, it's going to get out of hand. But they are their red zone. I don't know. They score from distance a lot, but I'm curious to see teams. You can't live off of scoring from distance once you start playing other good teams. You have to get first down, and Indiana's really good at that. So let's go ahead and throw it. Let's start with that because that's in the Felder 5. Michigan, Indiana. What's the number on that?
14
it's
and
over
a half.
2 touchdowns. Yeah.
14.5. I think that they will cover the number.
Indiana.
Yes, Indiana. And I think this is maybe for a lot of people the first time that they're going to actually watch a whole Indiana game. Is that fair to say?
They're getting the CBS treatment, okay?
Yeah.
Which is a big deal for that program. They did get a big noon Fox game earlier against Washington.
Uh-huh.
But I think you're right, Felder. CBS gets a lot of eyeballs. And this is, nobody feels sorry for Michigan, but Michigan's the team that's getting everybody's best shot this year. Remember when they went to Seattle and played Washington? That was a huge deal for the Huskies program.
Sure.
They have dominated this series against Indiana. 27 of the last 28 games, Michigan's won.
So Michigan, and this is one of the things that I continuously try to bring up to people because I'm looking for I'm not super analytics guy. But Michigan's been to the red zone this season 21 times.
In 9 games, they've been there 21 times?
Let me make sure it's 9 games, not 8. Yes, 9 games, 21 times.
Sheesh.
17 scores, 13 touchdowns. 13 touchdowns in 9 games in the red zone. Indiana has been to the red zone in 9 games, 54 times. And we got a healthy Rourke. They've scored 45 touchdowns. 45 touchdowns in 9 games versus, what did I say? 15?
13.
That's 13. Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, zoom out a little bit. Indiana's got the second highest scoring offense in FBS.
Sure.
Like, this is not just like smoke and mirrors.
Right. They're doing what they're supposed to do. And I really appreciate that about them. And so for me, when I go through and I watch them play and you rewatch a game, because I don't know why she DVRs these games, but she does. She DVRs the Michigan State games.
It's adorable.
Like she's going to rewatch them.
Yeah.
You know how much space on a DVR a college football game takes up?
Well, as you've pointed out on many occasions, longer than it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Close to 4 hours based on the teams that are playing.
Yeah. And so for me, watching that, it just, these guys, I think Michigan State's going to be why? Michigan, Indiana, they're going to be rocking in Bloomington.
Yeah.
They're going to be pumped up. They're going to be excited. They're going to have fun. And they can score from distance. But the best thing that they do is recognize station. Are we all baseball guys?
No, not
Can't-
really.
No. Okay, no for Trip. Hartzell, yes.
What do you mean baseball guy? Like, I understand the rules of the game. Like, I don't.
No. Like station to station baseball.
Got it.
Where in baseball, all you want to do is move your guy to the next spot. So we're talking about sacrifice bunts. We're talking about sack flies. We're talking about bloop singles. We're talking about all these things. Anything I can do to get this runner from first to second to third to home. Indiana plays football like that.
Yeah, but Indiana's getting they're getting doubles and triples, man.
Sure, if you hit they're not hitting a ton of home runs. That's my point. They're not living off of they don't have. I don't know that they have an Aaron Judge, but they're hitting doubles. Sometimes they get a triple. They're hitting doubles. They're getting a lot of singles, and ultimately, what that leads to is somebody putting their foot on home plate. In this case, somebody putting their foot in the end zone. And I think that's the part that's been interesting to me is they find a way to consistently get there. And that reminds me a lot of, and again, I've mentioned this before, but Frank Signetti Jr., brother of Kurt Signetti, that's how he also liked to play football. And so I understand all of what they're doing. They're doing it. It looks different now than it looked in 2005 for us at UNC. But the whole goal for them is if I can get 6 yards here, that means I only have to get 4 more yards in the next 2 plays. That means if I can get 3 yards here, then I got to get 1 more yard. And then we can just do that. And then every now and then we take a shot down the field and we go make a play.
That's a great
I
point.
love that.
That's a great point because you're going to watch this Michigan-Indiana game, and the Hoosiers are going to have 2nd and 2 all day long.
Bingo.
And Michigan's going to be like 2nd and 9, 2nd and 11,
Yep.
2nd and 10.
Because their defense is good too, by the way. We need to give
Indiana's defense is very good, yes.
give that Hoosier defense their propers, dog. They make plays.
It's the
and they
third
overwhelm
best.
you.
I put this on our blitz card for Saturday. Indiana has the 3rd best defense in terms of yards per game allowed in FBS football. That's
Right.
out of 134 teams. They're allowing 261 yards per game. So yes, them boys get after it. And by the way, half of that defense came from JMU. By the way, but
There you go.
Continue.
But here's the thing. The other thing, as we stick on Indiana, plays over 10 yards, 6th in the nation. Plays over 20 yards. Let me make sure. 10th in the nation. Plays over 30 yards. 21st in the nation. So as you see, the longer the plays go, the more they move down. Why? Because again, they play station to station football. They don't need those big plays all the time. Ole Miss, and you know what? We're going to save this for when we get our guy Zach on, right?
Yeah,
So-
we talking some Ole Miss football.
We're going to talk some Ole Miss, but Ole Miss needs those plays over 30 yards.
Yeah, well, they had dude. That Arkansas game last week was bananas.
Yeah.
That was like me playing my kid in college football. Like that's what that looked like. the
Yeah.
NCAA video game.
Oh, the video game. I thought you were talking about like just running around in the yard.
That too, if I wanted. I mean, my kid will cry if I beat him that bad. But yeah, that was insane what Ole Miss was doing to Arkansas. Now they're banged up. We'll talk about that with Zach because they got some injuries that they got to worry about for Saturday. But
let's talk Florida, Texas. That's another one on the Felder 5. Do you think that they can rebound? I know you got a little bit of Florida in you, dog.
I got a lot of bit of Florida in me.
Yeah. Can they watching the faces of that team after the fumbled field goal snap? Bad snap, scoots on the ground, Holder can't get it. It looked like, and I said this, and my dad called me and he laughed about it. Said it looked like Benny Hill. Do you guys know who that is?
It's a deep cut, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like, everyone trying to recover that fumble. But their faces, like you could see the blood drop out. They turned white as a ghost, every player on that team.
So that game was also tied at 20 late in the ball game in Jacksonville.
Sure.
Like
but when it was 13-13 and they had a chance to take the lead, and then they beefed it, I feel like that was when it was like.
So Roddy had some pretty strong words in our Tuesday show about DJ Lagway.
Yeah, he did.
And he's questionable for the game in Austin. Now, if you watch the
hamstring,
game
correct?
Yeah, hamstring.
Yeah.
So if you watch the game against Georgia, you'd think that we weren't going to see DJ Lagway until 2025 because of him getting carted off the field and everybody coming over and, kind of like, oh, man, this is really serious. So Roddy had some pretty strong words for Lagway in terms of like, man, that you don't get the cart for a soft tissue injury. That's not what the cart is supposed to be coming out for.
Yeah.
That said, I'm willing to give this guy a little bit of a leash because he is a true freshman.
Right. Well.
And he was scared, okay? Like, he was scared.
I will say this. I agree with Roddy.
Okay.
Especially if you're going to be the leader of this team for the next 2 seasons after this. This can't be Paul Pierce in a wheelchair.
That.
He said that.
Paul Pierce is absolutely referenced. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. This can't be that.
Infamous Paul Pierce incident.
This can't be that. And to flip it on the other side, how many times have we ever seen Tom Brady get carted off the field?
Right.
Never. Guy fell straight on his knee. And he's like, I'm going to walk off. Why? Because my guys, they need to see it.
Right.
But again, yeah, he's young. Yes, that's correct. But it doesn't make it right.
If he plays, Felder, then Florida has a chance to hang around against a Texas team that's coming off a bye. If it's this third-string former walk-on from Yale, Aiden Warner, bloodbath, dude. Come on.
I mean, you're probably right. You're probably right. I just think that, to me, it's a lot more about Florida self-correcting in terms of knowing who they are, figuring out what they're supposed to do, and again, rebounding from what was a devastating moment for them.
Yes.
That was a brutal moment for them. Sorry, I'm getting my Gatorade in.
Don't lie, it's not Gatorade.
It is Gatorade.
It's not real Gatorade.
It's G0.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
G0.
Light.
Yeah.
No, it's not a Gator Light, because Gator Light is actually
I like
extra Gatorade.
So we're talking Gators,
like.
and you're pouring yourself a little drink that was founded and created by the folks down there at the University
scientists.
of Florida. Love to see it.
So I just think that I think for them, I'm not worried about Texas. Texas should win this football game. I just want
comfortably. Yeah.
I want the Gators to mentally course correct.
I want to save this for Zach, but I was just going about my business yesterday, and I see the news pop up that Scott Strickland, the Florida athletic director, has sent an open letter to Gator Nation.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So let's save that. But you want to talk about things I was not expecting on a normal Thursday in November? That news. It's not like I'm not upset about it. The guy.
They didn't have to say it.
They didn't have to do that.
But I guess they did have to, though. Just to be fair, maybe they did have to. We are 1 month. We're just over a month away from signing day.
From signing day. We're also on the verge of the house settlement stuff really starting to hit these schools in their wallets. $22 million, that's a big number, man. So maybe if the University of Florida's like, we ain't got it, or we, like this is going to stretch us way too thin, then, man, get ready for a lot of other schools who really don't got it.
Well, I mean, look, I went to UNC, man. What are they going to do?
Yeah, great question. I mean, you got to try to sweet talk Mac into some sort of role where he's, I don't know. Great question. I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, what's UNC going to do? What's like Florida has made their decision. At least they made a decision. Like, if we're being, at least they made a decision.
Yeah, we can move on to other things. The Florida job is not opening. Yeah.
Right. Which they also cleared up a lot of stuff for other people.
Including high school kids who are about ready to commit. Sure. Including
Ole Miss, if we're being honest. So
potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be very, it's all, there are so many, man. You and I have been doing the show for how long? A decade?
No.
9?
8, 9 years, yeah.
8, okay. Listen, man, I have this same conversation with my daughter. When if it's 7:28 and I say it's 7:30.
Oh, the kids love this with the time.
That's still okay.
Right.
If it is, you got home at 3:15. No, we got home at 3:13. 3:15 is still okay.
Yeah, but Felder, they're teaching them how to read time in school. Like you're going against what they're teaching them.
Bro, you've already been taught. And if I say we've been doing a show for a decade and you say 9 years, what's the difference?
The difference is a whole year, son.
That's okay.
Doing it for a while.
Yeah. And all I'm saying is when we first started doing it, and I was doing a lot more recruiting at that point, and we could talk some of the recruiting stuff with Zach as well. It's literally like the timeline's accelerated. And not just the timeline for hiring, the timeline for firing, the timeline for solidifying. And I don't think we talk enough about the solidifying element of this timeline, where you have to solidify a stat. You have to make this work. And so that's the part and now you throw in the portal, because originally we just had the early signing day. Now we throw in the portal. Now we throw in the waivers. Now you throw in the one-time free transfer, no penalty. And all this stuff is working in concert to create, like, I guess I'm talking myself into understanding why they did it. And it does make more sense when you start to think about it that way. And I'm going to try to pull this up. I don't know. I still, there's also so many extra tabs on recruiting websites now because of the portal.
Yeah, they have portal tabs.
Yeah. So 2025. Do you know where Florida ranks in recruiting?
It's like a top 15 class, is it not?
It's 51.
Never mind.
51. Composite rank of 51.
That's not it.
Yeah, that includes ESPN, On3, obviously 24/7. That includes Rival, like all that stuff's included in there. 51. They have 11 hard commits.
Okay. Well, not great.
Yeah.
I thought it was higher than that. I thought he was killing it in recruiting.
I'm
not a recruiting guy, obviously.
They don't have a transfer rank. So what they can do is go into the portal and figure that out. But yeah, it's not good.
That's the thing, man. You start doing math. You're like, okay, house settlement, we need to set aside $22 million to pay players. If you're going to fire a coach, like I was reading about this with Mike Norvell, shout out to the Verts. You know what Mike Norvell's buyout is at Florida State?
No, what is it?
It's $60 million.
They don't have that.
No, they don't.
He ain't going nowhere.
Because you got to, not only do you have to buy out a coach, then you got to have money for your new coach, and you got to have the pool for his assistants. And, oh, by the way, if you're hitting the portal, you got to have $10 million set aside for players.
Yeah.
Just in the portal.
However,
Mm-hmm.
like they don't have to pay him $60 million up front.
No, it's over time, sure.
Yeah, but I
Sure.
mean that makes a difference.
Yeah, okay. It makes it. We've reached our quota on Florida State talk. Let's. You want to get one more?
I don't know.
I'll
Yeah.
get one more Felder 5 in here before Zach hops on.
Let's do one more. BYU Utah. I just want to give that game a look. Put some respect on that on the Holy War.
Here's the thing, though, man. Utah can't score.
They can't do anything.
Very low total there, 40.5.
Yeah.
Going to be a very grinded out.
But here's the thing: BYU, of one of these things, is not like the other. Total offense, Oregon's number 11. Miami's number 1 in total offense.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's 38, which, by the way, we can talk about that because we're going to talk about Georgia, the matchup with Ole Miss anyways. Carson Beck, by the way.
Yeah, yes. We'll get there.
But BYU is 49th in total offense. Total defense, Oregon 11. Miami's at 19. Georgia's at 12. BYU's at 39 in total defense as well.
Yeah, I don't think BYU is considered an elite team, or even a fringe elite team, like what Indiana's doing this year.
Thank you for saying that, by the way. Indiana is better than BYU.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in every conceivable metric, including, I think, including quality of competition, to be frank.
Sure.
The Big 12 it's kind of dicey right now. Here's the thing, man. Utah has lost. How many games has Utah lost in a row?
I don't know that. 3?
4.
Wow.
And the highest point total they've put up is a 19-point effort in
19.
Arizona State
I knew that.
during that four-game losing streak. I mean, they just lost to Houston, man.
That's what I was going to bring up, the Houston thing, like the how.
Both teams are coming off a bye. Look, I'll say this. It's a 10-15 Eastern kick.
This is a rivalry. All I want to say is this is a rivalry that people don't know about. They don't realize it exists. There are people, I think, maybe even that listen to this show, that don't realize that BYU is in Utah.
Well,
like there are certainly people that are SEC fans that don't know where BYU is.
Why you got to call out SEC fans like that? We're about to bring in Zach Berry. I think he knows about geography. I think he's.
Well, I think there's a lot of folks that don't understand, that don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, man. Games at Rice Eccles, right?
Yes.
Buddy.
Yeah, I know that. I know everybody says that, but this Utah team stinks, man. Look, 10-15 Eastern kick. It's going on the big screen late night. Second half's not going to kick till after midnight. I mean, it's going to be late. So I'm here for it. I want to learn. I want
BYU to just take care of business.
Well,
but this is a game where, I mean, we've seen this already with several other teams. This is a game where people might throw stuff on the field.
Okay.
And I hate it.
Well, speaking of throwing stuff on the field, let's bring in our next guest. He is Zach Berry from Ole Miss on 3. Zach, kind enough to join us. Pretty big game in Oxford on Saturday. Zach, did you know that BYU is located in the state of Utah?
I do. I am familiar.
Good. That's a start.
Yeah. What city?
They do not drink Mountain Dew. It's in Provo, dog. Come on.
There we go. Let's go. How many Ole Miss fans know where BYU is?
Probably a lot. There's a pretty solid contingent of Mormons in the state of Mississippi, so they know.
Look at you dropping knowledge. I dig it, man. Let's rock and roll, man. I'm excited to talk about this game. We got Zach Berry on. I did your show 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a good time, and we talked about tempo. What do you expect? Because they're playing this Georgia team that blasted out of this Georgia team. A lot of folks still have super high expectations of, even though we all got to watch Carson Beck this past week. What do you expect Ole Miss to do out the gate?
Yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out. I did the CSN double dip. I got some good beta on quarterback play from you and Wayne Cook. So
nice.
I'm dialed in now. This game is weird, man, for Ole Miss fans, because I think a lot of people are very nervously optimistic because of the ultimate equalizer this year for Ole Miss is the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is elite.
Specifically that pass rush, Zach. I mean, that
Yes.
thing is elite. Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
Because, in years past, it was always like, oh, it's Lane Kiffin. Like, they're going to score, do this, do that. But, okay, they got 44 points. Then you look up the scoreboard, like, let's hope the other team has 42. It's not like that anymore. The Carson Beck play is bizarre. I mean, the dude was damn near automatic a year ago. Georgia looks like the Death Star that we've, grown accustomed to knowing. And then, I guess that's what happens when Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey and A.D. Mitchell leave. They've got some good players. It's Georgia. They're going to have talent, but it's not that same echelon of dudes. I mean, all those guys that I mentioned are either in the NFL and, A.D. Mitchell's at Texas now.
Right.
The Hartzell brought up the pressure, the defensive line. Carson Beck he has been absolutely putrid against pressure this year. The stats are not kind. I went through and kind of scrounged those up. 8.5% interception rate against pressure, 36.2% completion percentage against pressure. And do you guys know who is top 5 in pressure rate this year?
Ole Miss is number 1 in sacks.
That would be Ole Miss. They have, I believe it's 98 tackles for loss this year. Probably even more astounding than those stats is how Ole Miss got 21 pressures on Garrett Nussmeier and didn't sack him at all. But still, 21 pressures in one game is wild.
94 tackles for loss.
94.
41 sacks.
Yeah, it's
and that doesn't even count all the times that you're still in the backfield.
Right.
Being disrupted, which leads to incompletions which is what you're looking for, interceptions.
Which that was why Ole Miss should have beaten LSU, because it affected Nussmeier. He was off. And so this weekend, I think it's kind of the perfect storm for Ole Miss, and maybe literally and figuratively, because the forecast does not look good. But if you're Ole Miss, if it's not now, then when? This is the best roster accumulated ever. Definitely in the Lane Kiffin era, probably ever in the history of modern day Ole Miss football. And you've got a third-year starting quarterback that looks to be starting to get hot at the right time. The offensive line is getting healthy at the right time. The injury report was just comical, and that's just Lane Kiffin doing gamesmanship.
A lot of names, Zach. A lot of names.
Yeah, just silly shit there. But Jordan Watkins is going to play. I've been told by multiple people that Trey Harris is going to give it a go.
Right.
I think last year still pisses him off. He got shut down in that game last year.
Right.
And he came out in the LSU game. He's a Louisiana guy. I know that really ticked him off. He couldn't play, couldn't go. They didn't need him last weekend against Arkansas, so he took the pads off. I expect him to play. Maybe he's a decoy, maybe he's not. This sets up to be an interesting matchup because neither team can really run the ball effectively.
Right,
So it's going to come down probably to protection and who is going to make the play, Jackson Dart or Carson Beck.
So,
Zach, how much – hang on a sec, Felder.
Okay.
You were in Athens last year, I believe, right? You made the trip. How much does 52-17 motivate how much of a factor is that in this game in terms of Ole Miss trying to punch up, trying to beat somebody that maybe they're not supposed to or expected to in the SEC?
Yeah, well, it was kind of the, what started the roster restructure. I mean, Lane Kiffin said it in the post game. He was like, we don't look like that team over there, and we have to fix that. So they went out and they got Walter Nolan. They got Princely Umamuelen. They loaded up. They got Jared Ivey to come back. J.J. Pegues came back. They loaded up. The linebackers don't get talked about enough. Pooh Paul is a monster. T.J. Daughtery, he was only eligible for the bowl game because of the late transfer from Clemson. That dude's a dog. They got the front seven taken care of. And last year, Ladd McConkey just pulled their pants down the whole game. And they went and got Trey Amos, who Nick Saban, that was probably cornerback one for Nick Saban before he retired. So they got a guy that can go out there and be on an island now. That game definitely, it sticks in the craw there for a lot of those players. I know I mentioned Trey Harris. He was shut down. I know that irks him. Definitely Dart too. probably one of his worst games he's ever had at Ole Miss. And just mentally, I think this is where Ole Miss is like, hey, this is the measuring stick. Kiffin said it. If you want to win the SEC, if you want to get to the college football playoff, you got to go through Georgia. And I think that's still true, even though they don't look like the same Georgia that we saw the last couple of years. Still Kirby Smart on the other side. You still got dudes everywhere. I mean, Mikael Williams and Walker are still over there playing defense. So it's not going to be, a walk in the park at all. But yeah, that 52-17 last year, you could kind of see it on the players' faces in the game. They were pretty shell shocked, and I think collectively as a unit, they're ready to prove like, nah, that's not us.
You said this isn't the same Georgia that we're used to seeing. I'm just going to read this number here: 97th in rushing, Georgia right now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it feels insane. I want to ask you, and by the way, I do love Pegues. I want to talk about him in a little bit, but I want to bring something up to you because I do think that this is something that could be a heavy factor in the game. 86 yards of penalties per game for Ole Miss.
And I swear it seems like they all come on defense on third down.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, man. Like, what do you do? It's not, and then you look at the game, and it's not just like one game we had a lot of penalties.
Yeah,
it's pretty consistent over the course of the games.
So you've played the game, and then Trip, Hartzell, y'all watch enough football, you cover it, you do this for a living. There are a lot of penalties where it's just shit luck. Face masks, sometimes they're bad luck. But then, man, it just I know Pete Golding, he comes from the Saban tree. Hey, we're going to play man, and if you don't want to play man, don't come here. So they're going to be physical. They're going to get after you. It's kind of like Duke basketball with the hand check. Like, we're going to do it until you call it. That gets them a little bit where they get a little grabby in coverage. Offensively, though, man, they've shuffled the offensive line around, but I think they've got the wrong dudes playing tackle for most of the season, and those guys are just getting beat, and they're just holding.
Right.
So I think some of those guys slide inside. They've shuffled it around a little bit. They've had some injuries that's forced them to do it. But I think last week, Landon Jackson is a monster. He's going to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
He had 1 sack in that game, and that was pretty much the only thing he did. They held him in check. Now, Georgia's got 2 of those guys. So that's going to be key. Can you keep Jackson Dart upright? I would say keep the jersey clean, but he's going to run. But if you can keep him off his backside and give him time, because he had time last week against Arkansas, and we saw what he did. It was pretty incredible stuff. Even though it's Arkansas and it was pretty much a bye week by halftime, you're not just throwing against air. They were scheming some guys open, and they did some good things. But, yeah, the penalties, man, if you're an Ole Miss fan, that's kind of what you do, right? You get that stop on third down, and then you just start scanning the field looking for laundry. I think it's going to be offensively where it's going to be more important because if Dart hits a big one, scrambles to move the chains, you can't get called for holding. And
right,
I think Dart needs to be more of a factor in the run game. He needs to run more. I think there's been a lot of times where he's just held on to the ball too long. And I don't know if that's trying to look downfield, trying to go through progressions. Like in this game, you need to just tuck it and go. Get 4 or 5 and then regroup.
Zach, from your perspective, like, what do you make of the injury situation with Ole Miss? Like, it seems like those guys cramp up an awful lot, when the opposing team starts to pick up a couple of first downs or chunk plays. What's the talk like amongst the Ole Miss faithful? You're with On 3. Like, you've got your finger on the pulse of that fan base. Are folks like, come on, man, this isn't how I want to play football?
Yeah, well, like Ole Miss is the only team in the country that does it. So we get a lot of attention for that at On 3 and Ole Miss Spirit. My Tennessee friends like to remind me of that. But no, in all seriousness, I think at this point, because I've been carrying the torch for this, I think it's dumb. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't help you. You guys watch football. Viewing experiences at this point on television are miserable. You're just adding more time to a game.
Yeah.
And Kiffin did it, in my opinion. He said it a couple years ago because people were doing it to Ole Miss when they would go tempo.
Right.
He brought it up, and he basically, without saying it, was like, I'm just going to start doing it until y'all fix it. So
Sure.
now they're cracking down on it. He's found other ways to get around it, with the, when one team subs, Ole Miss has a chance to sub, and they'll just kind of leisurely jog out there.
Yeah.
Another thing that he's done offensively to kind of toy with people, and this is a new thing with the helmet comms. We talked about this, Felder.
Yeah.
Waiting until after 15 seconds on the play clock to break the huddle on offense, to where the defense can't adjust. They can't radio
Right.
into. I think it's ridiculous. It doesn't help Ole Miss. I mean, look, at this point, it's only pissing off the officials, and I think if you polled a lot of the officials, they probably don't really care for Lane Kiffin as is. This is just making it worse. At first, it was kind of a ha-ha gamesmanship thing. Now it's just extending
Annoying.
a game. Yeah, I don't think it helps, and I don't know how you police it. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast for a whole nother day. But yeah, at this point, I think Kiffin's might have turned the corner on this a little bit. They haven't done it as much the last couple of weeks. And I think that he's just kind of ready. Like, hey, let's just play. I don't see why you would keep doing it.
So let's expand this, right? We've talked. I think we've got an idea of what Ole Miss has to do in this game against Georgia. We're going to get to see what they do in this game against Georgia and what Georgia has to do as well, which is get better quarterback play, figure out a way to run the football. But let's expand it to the entire SEC. You guys already played LSU. LSU's taking on Alabama this weekend. What are you expecting out of this football game? Because it does feel like an elimination game.
It does. The one thing for me that's interesting is looking at it from the psychological standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss, it's backs against the wall. Got to win. You're at home. I think it's still going to be a great crowd despite the weather, just because everybody knows how big of a game this is. It's the last big home game. The home schedule hasn't been great for Ole Miss. They don't get any night games, so this is a 2:30 kick. Sun's going to be going down, so it'll be dark in the second half. So it'll be kind of a night game. The psychological thing, though, with Georgia, there's some breathing room for a loss.
Yes.
And I think that they're human. I know Kirby's going to tell them, like, hey, we got to win this game. But they're 19, 20-year-old kids. They know, like, we lose this one. Like, we're still good. Like, we can win out. We're fine. And then you got, the psychological aspect of a look-ahead spot for Tennessee. That's a big one. You got to win that one. So Ole Miss gets out to a fast start. Defense plays well, get a couple stops. Maybe subconsciously Georgia kind of, let's just kind of regroup and get back to get ready for Tennessee. I'm not saying they're going to quit by any means. I mean, that's just a, disclaimer there. I'm not saying Georgia players will quit, but I think there's a certain aspect to a game where you've got someone that's backed into a corner and it's either this or nothing. And then another team that, they can be okay if you lose this game. But yeah, I've had a lot of people mention this where it's like, maybe it just took this long for this team to click with all the transfers. Right. I don't know if it's that. I think something clicked in the second half of that Oklahoma game with play calling, and there were some leadership things that happened in the locker room. I've heard on the sidelines, like a lot of players were far more vocal. You saw it in the Arkansas game after that red zone blunder where Jackson Dart was not pleased.
Right.
And I think that's something there that I think the players realize, if you're a fan, you're kind of like, why did it take losing to Kentucky at LSU for this to happen? But, here we are. And I think that could be a bit of an edge for Ole Miss.
So take me to LSU. So you mentioned losing to LSU. Take me to LSU. Hosting Alabama this weekend.
I mean, that's a true elimination game.
Exactly. That's what they've both teams 2 losses. One of them lost to Vandy. The other one lost to Southern California, who at this point in this season, no one is like, yeah, they're super great. So yeah. What do we expect out of that? Because I watch, and you mentioned Jackson Dart being frustrated, getting upset. When I look at Jalen Milroe, I also see a guy he's kind of like that. He feels like he's the last like vestigial like connection to Nick Saban. and he's
Mhm.
trying his best to bring these other guys with him.
Yeah, my first thought is Kalen DeBoer off a bye week is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some time to get in the lab, sit down with Milroe, have some hard conversations because Milroe hasn't looked great, and
Sure.
he's been very up and down. I mean, the Georgia
Well,
game.
Hang on. Hartzell and I have had this conversation almost every week on this show, basically.
Okay.
Hartzell says it's decision making. I think that it is Milroe pressing because he doesn't have anybody else that he really counts on.
Yeah, look, you want to talk about parallels and bringing it full circle. It's a lot like Jackson Dart. Because when Trey Harris was out there, it was pretty much I'm going to look at number 9, and if he's not open, shit, what do I do? Milroe, same thing. All right, where's Ryan Williams? Oh, he's bracketed. Well, I don't know what to do. The pressing thing, yeah, I mean that's very real with quarterbacks. You know, not having time, knowing you got to make the big play every time, maybe selfishly looking for that chunk play too much. Because in the Georgia game, I mean, he was nails. I mean, he was lights out in that first half. I mean, moving the ball, spreading it around, running, you know, mixing the run with the pass. I mean, that's going to be big, extending the plays with his legs and moving chains. Because, look, Brian Kelly, what's the number, Hartzell? He's something crazy at night.
Pretty sure he's 13-0.
13-0.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to have Mike the Tiger on the sidelines, apparently.
What could possibly go wrong?
I have thoughts on that. We'll get into it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be raucous. It's if you're Alabama, I mean, you play on the road, you got to get in there and you got to get off to a fast start. You got to take the crowd out of it as quickly as possible. Ole Miss kind of did that in the LSU game earlier this year, and it helped. They just couldn't put LSU away.
Right.
But if you look, Death Valley, it's wild. I mean, it's a different kind of environment. It's raucous. I mean, you got all those Louisiana people in the same place that they've been getting lubed up all day. But they've shown that if you hit them in the mouth and it's kind of dicey in the third quarter, they're going to hit the exits to go back to the tent. If Alabama can put the pause on them early and get to Nussmeier and, you know, really lock up Lacey, I think that there's a real shot at Alabama winning this one. And I think they could win it convincingly because I do think Alabama's defense is a lot better than it gets credit for.
All right, last one for me, Zach. You're going about your business on Thursday, all right? You're probably playing NCAA, just goofing around the house. I mean, not working super hard. And then you get the notification that Scott Strickland has written an open letter to the University of Florida fans. Okay, what did you think about that? Because there is a little bit of an Ole Miss connection here, right? Because everybody's like, well, Lane Kiffin's going to go to Gainesville as soon as they fire Billy Napier. Well, Billy Napier's not going anywhere. What would you think of that news yesterday?
Yeah, I was actually in the car. I was driving, and you know, I could see on the CarPlay I'm getting texts coming in, and then so I called somebody, and I was like, what is going on? And so, you know, you got the vote of confidence from Scott Strickland, but there's no green behind it. There's no extension, so maybe a little hollow there. I personally think Napier has done enough to earn another year. Florida's played a lot better the last couple of weeks, and honestly, if Graham Mertz doesn't get hurt, Florida beats Tennessee. And if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt last week, that game is far more interesting. You know that we've dealt with this since the spring. I have been in the boat of I don't think Lane Kiffin was going to take it. I think Jimmy Sexton is very good at his job, and he knows what leverage is. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy when it comes to comparing Ole Miss to Florida in this day and age with NIL and the transfer portal. I talked to somebody that has worked in the SEC and covered college football for years, and they brought it up, and I've said this to our fans on our message board. What Lane Kiffin has at Ole Miss, basically the full autonomy, the freedom to do whatever he wants, basically get whatever he wants. He's not getting that at Florida. No one gets that at Florida.
Right.
So that's important. And, the AD at Ole Miss, Keith Carter, has done everything Kiffin's wanted. Walker Jones and the Grove Collective have done a phenomenal job since that was founded. Look at the roster this year. They pretty much got what they wanted. Comparing the two, in Florida is just a weird job, man. I mean, Tripp, you're a Florida State guy. I mean, there's only been 2 guys that have won big there.
Man, I think he'd look way better in that garnet and gold, honestly.
Yeah. Would you take that switch now? Norvell to Ole Miss, Kiffin to Florida State?
I'd take just about any switch right now, just for the sake of it being a switch.
Yeah, Tripp's down bad, dude. He's down
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, it's a weird job though. Like it's only been Spurrier and Urban Meyer, and
Right.
Dan Mullen had an 11-win season, and then they fire him 2 years later.
Muschamp went to what did he go to, the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they get blasted by Louisville?
Yes, can confirm.
Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater. So it's good for me in the sake of my sanity to stop answering those questions.
Sure.
Kind of put it to bed a little bit, but yeah, I still don't think he would have gone. I think the situation at Ole Miss is better in this day and age. And he's already making close to $10 million. At this point, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, how much more money do you need? And, you got the family aspect. His daughter's at Ole Miss. His son's transferring to Oxford for his high school, sophomore season next year. And I think that was big for the Auburn situation. It's been pretty much documented. Chris Lowe did a great story about it earlier this year, where his daughter Landry was pretty much like, you've moved our whole lives away from us. Like, don't do it now. Like, I'm here. So I think Kiffin's a little bit different now. He's grown up. He's matured.
Right.
I know he still does the silly shit on Twitter, and he'll do some stuff here and there. But I think he's much different than he was when he was at Tennessee working with Saban at Alabama. So I think he's in a good spot at Ole Miss, and he knows, he can kind of get what he wants, and that's key with NIL and transfer portal.
It's all that hot yoga, man. Namaste. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out Hotworks, baby.
Okay, there you go. If it works, it works. Zach Berry from Ole Miss on 3 on Twitter at Zach_Berry. Friend of the program. Zach, thank you for coming on, buddy. Enjoy your weekend and safe travels. You're going to the game? You going down to Oxford?
I am. I'm here right now. So I'm debating on whether or not I need to go get a rain jacket because I left my rain jacket in Nashville, of course. Probably gonna need it. Looking at the forecast this morning, but it should be a hell of a game. I'm excited. I think Ole Miss is going to be ready, and Georgia will be ready. So it should be a good one.
Dang, bro, you left the Patagonia rain jacket at home, man. Tough. I'm sure you can get one in Oxford, man. I'm sure they got plenty of outfits.
They got
all right. Okay.
I had the Patagonia and the Man City rain jacket sitting out and left them both there.
Tough scene. Enjoy the game, Zach. We'll talk to you again soon, buddy.
Yeah, man. Utah money line, by the way.
Okay,
Let's go.
That sounds. I'm gonna kick him out of the studio. That's a little reckless. That's a little reckless there.
I'm a North Face rain jacket guy.
I know you are. That's why I brought it up. I know.
You
listen,
you knew I was going to
guy.
react.
I know my guy. Okay.
Yeah,
We've been doing the show for 10 years, Felder.
Yeah.
A decade.
Yeah.
Almost.
Bro, I bought I left my rain. I went to Columbus for a recruiting thing for the opening, and I didn't bring my rain jacket. So I had to go to REI and get a new North Face. But guess what? Expensed it.
You snuck it past the goalie, huh? Well played, sir. Well,
yes, sir.
love to see it. What's at REI? Bottled water.
Yeah, needed it.
Lunch.
Equipment.
They had a cafeteria there.
It was equipment.
That's right. Extension cords. Yep.
Yeah.
Internet cables. Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
So no.
Thanks to Zach for coming on. That was good
For
stuff
sure.
on the SEC. And look, I am as a we had fun earlier in the week. I'm not a Georgia fan.
Sure.
I am fascinated to see contrary to popular belief, I am fascinated to see this game play out because let's be frank, we talked about the Ole Miss angle. Let's talk about the Georgia angle.
Yeah.
I have some serious trust issues with what's going on with Carson Beck right now. How can you not?
Yeah. They're 97th in rushing offense.
Yeah, that's baffling to me because this is supposed to be tailback U. Georgia's supposed to have a great offensive line. It hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened.
They've shuffled the deck a bunch of times. I know that they're a little banged up. And then you have to deal with Carson Beck. And Carson Beck has just been, at times, I'll say it, he's been flat out bad at times.
Well, some of the picks, it's like, we're not talking about like ball is batted or deflected.
Right, there's some tip ball picks, but what we're talking about are throwing the ball directly to the other guy.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, there's 3 guys wearing
Does he
blue
need
jerseys.
glasses?
Yeah. What do you where do you think this ball's gonna go, son?
Because I know where it's not going to go, to your guy.
Yeah, it's wild. And look, the questions we asked, you like that one, Trip? The questions we asked in August and July about what this offense is going to look like when Ladd and Brock aren't catching third down passes, it's a real thing, man.
There's a lot to be left up to how do you explain it? I don't know. So we have that. I'm going to stick in the SEC. South Carolina, Vandy.
Mm-hmm. It's not getting any attention, man. Nobody's talking about this game. It's a good game.
How much are we going to get from Pavia? Again, a game that you talked me out of.
Everything he has. That guy's a warrior.
Yeah, you talked me out of it last week. So
indeed.
South Carolina, Vandy. I think this is a game. This is a game that's probably going to be on the what time is this one?
4:15 Eastern, SEC Network.
Not a great spot for South Carolina. Not a great spot play. Coming off that win.
Yep. Vandy, I mean, they're sitting right there, dude.
That's a great dog play.
Vandy is sitting right there. What's the number on it?
5.5.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's
going up.
Moved. That thing was at like 3.5, 4 earlier in the week.
Okay.
South Carolina had one of those games where just every big play was hitting for them.
Yeah, it hit hard.
It's good to see Rocket Sanders have a night though. I've liked that guy since he was at Arkansas. He's had a hard time staying healthy.
He has had a really hard time staying healthy. Also, Vandy, we think they keep the pedal to the metal, right, with what they've got. They're already bowl eligible. This doesn't happen for them very often.
Oh, I mean, they've got to be up for it.
They're not going to shut it down.
No, I don't mean shut. Are they happy with what they did when they were picked to finish? Weren't they picked to finish last?
Yeah, correct.
I mean, you'd like to take a little something away from them being at home, but I don't think that's going to matter that much. I'm also seeing, so on ESPN, they're only showing to be getting 4 points on ESPN.
I'm pulling it up right now.
5.5 on the.
I'm going to the odds earlier than normal. We're looking at Vanderbilt. I'm showing plus 5.5.
Yeah, very interesting game there.
Vandy plus 5.5.
That's not the number, but
is that not the? How is that not the number? I'm looking at it.
I do see 5.5 on a different site.
We use ESPN for our.
I'm looking at. You want me to take a screenshot? What do you want me to do?
No,
I can. You know what we can do on here? Present.
No. You don't
share. Hang on. No.
Please don't share your screen.
It did. I just refreshed. Now ESPN is showing 5.5.
Boom.
Okay. Great.
I'm gonna do
wow.
It.
I will say this, and again, I
don't
see
it. Do we see it right here?
Yes, the line's 5.5. It's moved.
Okay. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
See, I want to use all the features.
I think it's pretty messed up. Vanderbilt's not ranked. Why is Missouri ranked? What are we doing with Missouri?
Dude,
top 25. Come on.
I don't know either.
It's fine. It's a small thing, but
they will not be ranked for very much longer.
Missouri?
Yeah.
They're a home underdog to Oklahoma Saturday.
And how many times have we seen Brady Cook go into the locker room?
Yeah.
That's not a knock on that young man at all.
No.
What I'm saying is he is hurt. And we're not talking about the little the tent on the sideline.
No,
he's going
off the field in the tunnel.
Into the locker. Yeah, he's going in there.
Yeah. To
the training room.
Yeah.
So I hope he's okay, man. Jeez. Army, North Texas.
So you're speaking my language here,
There's
Doc.
your
I
boy.
don't know if this is going to be a part of your 3-for-all or not.
No, I'm staying away. I know you like it some. That's all yours. That's your thing.
I need a healthy Bryson Daly, but here's the thing, Felder.
He's not going to be healthy.
Well, he hasn't played a football game in 3 weeks.
Right.
I think he's, I don't know if he was banged up. Maybe it was an illness.
Sure.
But Coach Munkin was like, he's somewhere in between, what did he say, questionable and
And
probable.
day-to-day? Okay.
Here's the thing, man.
Chandler Morris in DT,
Dude, this North Texas offense is fun.
they can score, dog.
Yes. Yes.
What are they? Are they 6th in the country in scoring? I think something like that.
They're 3rd nationally in total offense. Chandler Morris has got 4 games of 400 or more yards passing.
Yeah, this
Everybody
is the
else has
problem.
got more than 2. Yeah, he can light it up. So
And I'm gonna bring this angle in. I wrote it in the doc, so you already know it, but I'm gonna bring it in. Notre Dame needs them to win this game. They need Army to win this game.
I don't know if they need it. Notre Dame just needs to handle their business. Whether Army's undefeated or has 1 loss, who cares?
I do think it matters because they have 12 data points, correct?
1 loss Notre Dame's going to the playoff, my man.
All I'm saying is 1 loss to Northern Illinois.
I understand.
What makes you think Notre Dame's still a 1-loss team after this weekend?
We're not doing this.
I'm not trying to do this. All I'm trying to say is if I'm Notre Dame, I want to at least I beat 2 undefeated teams because A&M now has taken a step back. And the other part is that USC is not good. And I'm looking at the actual logistics of it all.
Yes.
They can't hang out at number, what are they, at 10 or 11?
They're at 10.
They
Currently.
can't hang out there. You can't.
Oh, because of the matchup you're going to have in the first round?
No, not the matchup, because you're automatically going to be jumped by things. You don't know what's going to happen. What if Miami gets to the ACC championship undefeated, loses? I don't care if it's Pitt, SMU, whoever, somebody that's behind you. They go ahead of you, but Miami's still going to stay in. So now you get bumped down.
Yeah, okay. All right.
That's all.
That's
Is they need to continue to climb any way they can.
I don't know how high they can really climb, Felder.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Army
That's
and
all I'm
Notre
saying.
Dame next week, next Saturday. This is a
Sure.
great spot for North Texas. Army knows that they got a
Yeah.
trip to the Bronx to play top 10 Notre Dame next week.
Yeah.
Great spot. Great spot. You got to travel out to Denton, Texas. Ooh, Mean Green, dude. Watch out. Watch out.
Here we go. Clemson, Virginia Tech, do anything for you.
Yes, because our man Roddy Jones is going to be on the call.
Nice.
Was very disappointed in Clemson last week.
Yeah.
That game wasn't even that close, man.
No, it wasn't even as close as the score said
That's
it
what I'm
was.
saying.
They
It
should have
wasn't
won by
close.
more.
So, yeah, Virginia Tech, have they been disappointing this year? Compared to what we were talking about in the summer, sure, but all their losses have been by single digits.
They're close. They're on the cusp.
Look, it's November. I've got injury concerns about a lot of teams. You need Kyron Jones. You need Bashil Tootin. Bashul Tootin. Those guys didn't play in the loss to Syracuse. You need both of them.
I will say this. I think Zach brought up weather, obviously, because it's going to be wet at Ole Miss and the whole deal. But for me, man, weather not being a factor in Blacksburg is a big win for Clemson.
Yeah, sure. November game, you could have gotten all kinds of stuff up there.
Yeah,
Instead, it's going to be 75 degrees.
Right. They like that. That's good for them.
Sure.
Virginia Tech's in my life, Virginia Tech is the first place. Lane Stadium's the first place that I ever saw snow in October in my life.
Wow.
First time ever. And so that one's interesting for me. I will say this. I think Kate Klubnik, we got to put a little bit more respect on that dude's name. They didn't lose that game because of him. They couldn't get stuff done because of things other people couldn't do.
Right.
Which didn't allow him to be the best him. But we'll see what happens.
Dabo Sweeney's been at Clemson for 17 years.
That's insane, right?
You know what his record is off of a loss?
Undefeated.
No, not quite. 35-9, but still.
Okay.
You know, that guy, like, they bounced.
Yeah,
back.
but how many of those 9 came when he was the interim or the second year?
Yeah, probably quite a few.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that also got boat raced by West Virginia. Would you like to see those teams play again?
Yeah, that West Virginia team was loaded, though. I mean, that.
Yeah, Stedman Bailey, Tavon Austin, Geno Smith. So yeah, Kansas hosting Iowa State.
Not technically. This game's at
Stinky
Arrowhead.
line.
Is that Arrowhead?
It's at Arrowhead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still stinky line. I'm kind of talking myself out of Iowa State. I just couldn't understand it. You look at Iowa State's schedule, though, kind of skated by. Maybe we were just a little too high on Iowa State.
Well,
I'm not sure. I'm not gonna mess with this game anymore.
What if? And look, I don't want to lump an entire conference into this, but what if the Big 12 as a conference is just kind of
just crazy?
mid? Like, what if it's just kind of eh?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why doesn't it have an asterisk or something next to that game?
Listen, Felder, you're talking
For
to
the
the guy.
location.
You are talking to the schedule godfather here. Okay, nothing gets past me.
I know, and I'm like, why?
Kansas has split their home games between the place where Sporting KC plays, which is a soccer-specific stadium, and Arrowhead. And now that
Why
we're
does
into the MLS season, we are all in on Arrowhead, homie.
Got it. Okay, no, I understand now. So technically, because they're not playing their games at home.
Yeah, because it's under construction. It's
Under
being
construction.
renovated,
So
yes.
it's not the same as a neutral site game. That's why it's not labeled.
It's not
as
a
that.
neutral site game, but it's not in Lawrence. Look, I'm just here to educate the people, man. I want you guys to know.
I appreciate you giving me that information because I wasn't even thinking about that.
I don't know if this came up on the Phil Steele show, which is co-hosted by our man Trip Hurd, a.k.a. the Lock Doctor.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Phil thinks that Iowa State's going to have the crowd advantage here.
They probably will.
Very likely.
Because guess what started in Lawrence? Basketball season. They don't care. They don't care about football.
That's a good point. All right, what do I have? One more for you?
Bro, I can talk football with you all day, son. All right?
Colorado at Texas Tech.
Let's go. I mean, folks.
I don't know.
You, me, everybody listening, we were all wrong about Colorado. Okay?
We were wrong.
We were all wrong. Now, Colorado has a path to the Big 12 championship game. They have a path
to the
college football playoff.
Yes.
But
We're talking about a 2-loss team.
They've got to win in Lubbock. Have to.
Little harder to do, right?
Well, here's the thing. They don't even have to win it. They don't have to win in Lubbock.
Yes, they do.
You think they have to win in Lubbock?
Yeah, I think
they're tied for second in the Big 12 with Iowa State. Like, yes, you have to win.
Right. That's assuming that nobody else is going to lose.
I understand, but come on, you got to win because you still got Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State.
BYU. If they lost, they'd be tied with what? K-State? Texas Tech would move above them with the head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
They'd still
would have wins over Iowa State and Colorado.
Texas Tech has an opportunity to go to the Big 12 championship game.
Look, we're staring at a very real scenario. I know there's still 4 weeks left, but the Big 12 could be a one-bid league, dude.
Can I ask you something?
Uno bid. Yes, you may.
I know how with divisions in football, I know how that works, right? Like I understand the tiebreaker rules. Has anyone done a deep dive on the tiebreakers for divisionless football?
Yes.
Who?
Vanini wrote an article on The Athletic, and Roddy and I talked about this on Tuesday. Basically, you start getting into, like, if there's no head-to-head,
right?
Then you go to common opponents head-to-head, which is why the Colorado game is so big, because Texas Tech just beat Iowa State.
This is insane.
So Colorado would have a win over Texas Tech, who has a win over the team they're tied with, which would give Colorado the bump. It's a lot. And this is a thing that's going to keep happening when you've got 18 teams in a league with no divisions.
Right. So this is going to be...
Look, this is going to rear its head in the Big Ten, too.
Yeah, it is.
Unless Indiana wins at Ohio State. I mean, unless it's cut and dry, which
If
it's
it's
not
cut
gonna
and
be.
dry, Indiana, Oregon, that's easy.
And guess what? Look at the SEC standings, man. You can be like, well, it's going to work itself out. Bro, you got 5 teams sitting there with 1 conference loss. It is messy right now.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go. What do we got? Are we going to talk about the varsity app?
I mean, you should absolutely download the Varsity app if you haven't already. It's free. It's available in the Apple App Store and Google Play. You can enjoy live coverage of live college football games, coaches shows, podcasts. Basketball season has started. If you want to listen to hoops games, you can do that too. You can search for your school to access specific content. And, Felder, it's the exclusive home of the College Football Blitz.
Bang.
For free. Noon to midnight. Me, the doc, all your friends, all the best games. You know how we get down.
There you go.
In the words of Papa Felder, that's not how he gets down. All right, so best.
What
of the
other
rest.
games? Yeah, what else? What else you got?
Can I interest you in some Friday night lights at the Rose Bowl? Iowa at UCLA tonight. Does that do anything for you?
Ah, man.
UCLA's
Yeah,
on 2
it
in
does.
a row. UCLA's on 2 in a row.
But Iowa's also scoring points.
They are scoring a lot of points. I was laughed at on this show a couple weeks ago when I talked about Iowa overs by 1 trip herd. The doc.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I
was. All they're doing is going over this season.
Well, I tried to
I've
tell
been
you
calling
about
them
this,
the
and I
best
was
over
laughed
team in
at.
college football, like as a half joke on the show every week. Nobody's laughing at that.
Yeah,
false.
Okay, well, I'm happy. I'm happy for UCLA. They have shown some fight. They've gotten a lot better as the season's gone on.
They have,
and good for them, right? Good for Deshaun Foster. And
good for
Deshaun Foster. Exactly.
I like Deshaun Foster a lot.
You want him or Mike Norvell right now, starting a program?
I'd take Mike Norvell. Sorry.
Are you saying that you would rather have Deshaun Foster right now? Bro, you are fully checked out.
One team has shown improvement over the season. And one team that's a top 10 paid roster in college football hasn't.
I want to talk about a game, an early game on Saturday that we haven't discussed. Miami at Georgia Tech, Felder.
Are we going to see a healthy Haynes King?
If Haynes King plays, can the Jackets give Miami some problems?
Yes. Everybody. Who hasn't given Miami problems?
Good point.
Like
Florida State, but they don't count.
Right.
Florida in week 1, but they don't count. I think you're absolutely
almost
right.
covered against Miami.
I don't have confirmation that Haynes King is going to play. I have
right.
asked
Neither
the
do I.
Tech insider, and he hasn't gotten back to me yet. Yeah. So I'm trying to get some info here, but the guy hasn't played football in 4 weeks. So if not now, when? You got a top 10 team coming to your building. Let's go. Need you.
Yeah.
But that game, you may or may not be hearing from me a little bit later with Miami, Georgia Tech down on the flats. Other games that we have not yet discussed. I mean, Oregon's going to handle their business against Maryland. Ohio State, same thing with Purdue. Do you have a pick on Alabama, LSU? You talked to Zach about it, but do you have a lean here?
I think Alabama's going to take care of business. I really, I do.
Okay.
As he mentioned, I think their defense is better than we're giving them credit for. And when they feel like he mentioned it with respect to Ole Miss, but I think about it with respect to Alabama. Their back is against the wall. I want to see more out of Lawson, just for the record. On that in that defensive front 7, I want to see more out of him. But ultimately, I do think that Milroe is going to power this team to where they want to be.
Man, I'd love to see it. Other than the Missouri game, like we haven't seen this from Alabama in a while. Like against a team with a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, look, Kalen DeBoer coming off a bye. Like, what do you got? It's nut cutting time. What do you got?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to find out. Which of these fan bases is going to be in freak out mode more if they lose?
Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. That was a test. You passed.
Okay.
All right. What do you think, guys? Shall we make some picks here on the show?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
That's my dog. Take that. That's my dog. Say that right, Mom. That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my dog.
You pass.
And anybody got to say anything, you let me know. That's my dog.
I teased it earlier, so I'm just going to go ahead and get mine out of the way now because I'm the worst at this. 2-9 on the season. Felder, you're 7-6, but as we all know, you could have been 10-7, but we talked you out of it. Blah blah blah. Trip is 8-5. It's November. All right. There's 4 weeks left in college football's regular season. Let's stop messing around.
Okay.
Give me Georgia Tech plus 11. Don't need the points. They're going to upset Miami on Saturday down on the flats.
Wow.
Let's go.
Wow.
Let's go.
Wow.
Jackets.
Just did a
What's he-
podcast with Cam Underwood,
Yeah?
Miami guy.
Yeah, what's he think about that pick?
He said if Haynes is playing, yeah, it'll be one of those kind of a score fest. But he expects Miami to continue to be undefeated going through the season.
By the way, you know how many you know how many ranked teams Miami has beaten this year?
0.
That's correct. It's November the 8th.
Well, that's not their fault. It's the other team's fault.
Sure. I mean, that's a theory. That's not true. Louisville's ranked as of this week, so
Okay. And they beat them.
I misspoke.
And they beat Clemson, too. Louisville
But
beat Clemson.
I also want the record to show I am the only member of this podcast who picked a double-digit dog to win outright on this show. You guys like to pick like 1-point underdogs, 2-point underdogs.
So do you.
I picked JMU. You know, remember they were catching 10.5 against Felder's alma mater,
Yeah.
and they hung 70. Do you remember that?
That was
back
good.
in week 4?
That was a great pick.
So I'm going back to the well. Give me a double-digit underdog, Georgia Tech plus 11 to beat Miami.
Okay.
Well, plus 3.5 Penn State. That's
Do what now?
you had plus 3.5 Penn State.
I'm not saying I haven't picked single-digit underdogs.
you
I'm
do
saying
it all
I'm the
the
only
time,
one
just like
who's picked
everybody
a
else
double-digit
does.
dog who's actually cashed.
Plus 2.5 BYU.
That's why we have to
2.5
reconfigure the
Arkansas,
contest to factor in the spreads.
Well,
Like
Trip,
that's
maybe
top
plus 1
priority.
San Jose
maybe
State.
next time you come into the office and you're here for more than like 45 minutes, you can come up with a plan and outline that plan, and we can put that into effect.
Plus
if I can find the
that's
time
the
to do that,
lowest
that'll
one
be
that
my
we've
top
had.
priority.
Right.
Plus 1
Okay.
Pitt.
Do you guys have picks, or do you want to just complain?
I'm not complaining.
Sounds
I can
like
just
you're complaining.
complain.
So
I love
Jackets.
complaining.
Jackets plus 11. Boys, come on, fire away with some picks. Let's go. What are we here for? This ain't no hobby.
I've got a couple on the board, man. I don't want to take one of Tripp's, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Trip.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a pretty long list of games I'm looking at. I think LSU is worth a look. I think Air Force, if you want a double dog, might.
Have
be
you
good.
watched them play?
Air Force hasn't won a game since
you
August, bro.
watch Fresno play. Fresno,
Yeah.
good. I'll take Syracuse at Boston College. Sorry,
All right.
some small spread. I know it's only 2.5.
Jesus.
Hopefully, it still counts.
I'm crossing that one off my list.
Nice
Syracuse,
comeback against Virginia Tech last week. Very nice comeback from Syracuse.
Syracuse at BC. All right, so here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Mizzou. I'm looking at Duke.
Here's what I'm going to do. You can say all the games that you're looking at. I'm not going to say anything back to you because I was accused of costing you a 3-1 week last week. On
You did cost
so
me.
You can do your soliloquy.
Ole
I'm
Miss,
just going to sit back
Vandy.
and listen.
See, I don't know if Duke should be on your list because it's going to be very NC State like to win out, end up with 8 wins, and you still can't get rid of your coach.
That's a good point. You know what? I'll take them off the board. Wake. That's a good one too because
I don't hate it at all. I think it's a close game.
Wake. I think that's a
big.
close
I don't
game.
know if they win.
It's a
but I
weird
think it's a
line.
close
Cal
game.
is winless in the ACC. They're favored by more than a touchdown at
Yeah.
Deep Town. You
Yeah.
don't just stroll into a legacy Federal Bank credit union and get a
With
win.
Stephen Hartzell on the sideline.
Not just me, Felder, my entire family. My
Yeah.
loved ones.
They're going to
okay?
be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's that guy from The Wire.
Hartzell squad checking in.
UCLA. I'm taking UCLA off. They're not. No.
No?
I had Rutgers, but Rutgers has burned me. I'm not doing it.
Dude, Rutgers is taking a turn for the worst.
Texas Tech. I'm taking Ole Miss off the board too. Sorry, Zach. That's me. I can't do it. Kansas, you're off the board too. I don't know what you guys are doing. You know what? Let's do it. Let's bet on the Hartzels. Let's go with Wake.
Deeks.
Let's go Deeks.
Wake Forest plus 7.5. My kids are most excited to see the guy ride out on the chopper.
Motorcycle. So you have to get there like.
Well, the passes are only for pregame. So
Yeah.
we're not allowed to be on the field once the game starts. But listen,
Sure.
man, you know I'm going to be handing off a couple of Andrew Jacksons to security guards, man. Don't even worry about it. We're not.
So we
bothering
got.
anybody.
So that's a 5 o'clock Cal kick.
Yes.
Okay.
In
Give me
front of
Wake.
about, I don't know. What do we think? 10,000
7
people.
I was
Maybe?
gonna say 17, but yeah.
No, ain't no way, bro. 17, ain't no way. It will be
No?
a beautiful night for football, though. A high
It's
temperature
gonna-
is going to be 80 degrees today.
Yeah.
It's going to be a nice day.
You ever
All right.
take your kids to high school football?
Nope. Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. All right. It's time for the main event. Trip, are you ready? Because normally when we do this, you're like, oh, I'm not ready.
I've been scrambling all morning, man, trying to get the last little bit of
Wow.
research done. But go ahead.
I can
Not
hear your
even
voice, man.
9,000
That's what
people
happens
go to
when you
Wake.
take down 3 bottles of red wine before you got to get up and do a Friday morning show. All right, let's
Told
make
you,
some
the wire.
picks. Hit it.
Here comes the lock doctor. Here comes a Stephen Hartzell. Free for all Felder Friday. Just making these picks.
That's the best part.
It's so good, man. When I'm in a bad
Thank you.
place, I
Thank you.
just play that, and I just immediately just perk right back up. Tripp went 3-0 last week. I went 2-1. He picked up a game in the standings for the year. I'm 20-10 ATS. The doc is 18-12. Things are tightening up with 4 weeks to go.
Mhm.
But Tripp, once again, because you are trailing in the standings, it's your honor, Your Honor.
I'm sticking with my top pick, Cincinnati. I talked about him Tuesday. Phil wasn't crazy about the pick. He doesn't seem to care that West Virginia's could be without the quarterback. It might even be a good thing for the Mountaineers, but I'm sticking with Cincinnati. I think I like them a lot. Okay, Felder, if you want to check the line, I was seeing.
Yep, here we go. This is what I contribute to this part of the show.
3 for all, Felder Friday. Just making these.
Cincinnati -4.
4, like
You're
it.
getting it at a discounted rate, Tripp. That line was at
Little
like
discount
5 earlier in the week.
It opened at -3.5.
Okay.
So either
Cincinnati
went up.
-4. That's a noon game. We're going to find out early if the doctors got it going or
Yeah.
not on Saturday. All right. I teased it earlier, and we're going to Denton, Texas. Give me the over in Army, North Texas. Felder, can you confirm how many points we're looking at with the over-under?
64-5.
Army, North Texas, over 64.5. In fact, I got to be honest, we might hit the over at halftime. It's a very real possibility that thing is 40-37 at halftime. So give me the over.
There
Army,
you go.
North Texas. Trivia, you can win some money from your friends at the bar tonight. Army has the nation's longest active win streak.
Yeah, I know.
12 games.
Okay.
Not everybody knows that. So there you go. You're welcome. Back to you, Doc.
Look, I'm going to be straight up with everybody. Lots of leans, more than locks this week. Not super in love with this pick, but great spread team.
Are you the lean doctor or the lock doctor?
This might be a lean doctor pick, but I'm going to take Boise. Give me Boise. It's a big number. We'll get the final
-24.
Golly,
Okay.
son.
I'll take 24.
Why? I mean, why do you like this pick?
Well, they're a good cover team, and plus they've got Genty, who they
want to
can
win the
score
Heisman
60 in every game, and I'm kind of riding that whole. they want to get this guy the Heisman, so they're probably going to let him play a little more than, hey, you know, they're playing Nevada, so.
Yeah, they want him to win the Heisman. By the way, Ashton Genty, amazing.
Yeah, he's really good.
Looks so good.
You know what? I'm going to go back to the well here. I'm going to the Bank of Bloomington. Give me Indiana.
Indiana, okay.
I mean, these guys, Indiana is a wagon right now.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are just printing money. So
Minus
until they
14,
stop
5.
it, I wish it wasn't 14.5. I wish it was 13.5. But I don't think Michigan's going to score. And you don't think Indiana wants to, like, exercise some demons after losing 27 of the last 28 meetings to these guys?
Well, that's the part I think about with Indiana. I also was thinking about it, but I don't want to jinx them because I just want them to keep winning. Yeah. So I don't even want to touch them.
Coach Sig just out here smoking guys. You know what I'm saying?
They've never been 9-0 ever.
No, and they've never had 10 wins in program history, ever. They've never won 10 games.
They can do all of that today. All that stuff matters to me. Like, this is not a team that's going to, like, rest on their laurels.
Nah. Give me Indiana, minus 14.5. All right, Doc, back to you. Third and final pick. What you got?
Man, this is so tough. It's really tough. I'm looking at Georgia, Iowa State. I like the under in Penn State, Washington, and I like Vandy a lot too. It's hard to narrow this down.
Nobody said this was going to be easy, Doc.
pick.
If it was easy, everybody would do it. Okay?
It was easy.
Just making these peas.
Give me Iowa State. It's a fishy line. I'll take Iowa State to cover the 3. That's what I'm seeing is 3.
You were so close to a 3-0 week, and then you got on board the clones, bro.
3. 3 points.
Scary pick.
3 points.
Pick. All right.
Maybe I can just get a push.
All right. Picks that have hit the cutting room floor. I really like Ole Miss. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm not going to do it. That's more of a pick against Georgia than it is a promotion of Ole Miss. But I like the fact that the weather there is going to be a sloppy track. Advantage Ole Miss.
How is that an advantage Ole Miss?
Lines of scrimmage, big dog. Lines of scrimmage. You know where I'm thinking about going? I like JMU a lot. They're playing a Georgia State team that's lost 4 in a row.
Yeah,
Georgia State's been on the road.
What's another
4
pick?
straight weeks.
16-5.
I'm going to go with a number that's even bigger than that. Let's go to the Palouse late night on Saturday.
Okay.
Washington State hosting Utah State. Cougs are favored by
20.5.
20.5. Give me Washington State, John Mateer, and them boys.
Come on, Cougs. Win by 20, baby.
There is a path for Washington State to make the playoffs.
I still don't understand how any of this would work.
That path only exists if Washington State just puts the pedal to the metal on teams, which they're so capable of doing against Utah State.
They win by 20. They win by 21. Nobody cares. Win by 20, Cougs.
Listen, Trip. Just because you're about to go 0-3 doesn't mean that you got to be.
Yeah, I might be. I don't know.
Okay. Washington State minus 20.5, but I gave you Ole Miss and JMU as some bonus picks. I like those teams too. Maybe you just find a way to make those work into your Saturday card. Folks, that's the show. We just did the show. Felder, enjoy them chicken tendies tonight. Send me a picture, man. Because I got to eat at the stadium, dude. I'm going to eat trash tonight.
Yeah, you're probably still going to have chicken tenders at the stadium.
Yeah, but it's not going to be Felder homemade tendies with the homemade sauces.
Yeah, I'm about to go in there and debone these thighs and get these boys in the buttermilk.
Let the artist paint. Thank you to Zach Berry from Ole Miss on 3 for joining us earlier. For the Doc, for Felder, I'm Hartzell. Enjoy Week 11. Have a safe weekend, and we will talk to you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Go Noles.
Go Noles.
Go where?